Holmes. Jim Holmes is here tonight as well. We have our acting county executive officer, Jane Christensen, our deputy CEO, Stephanie Holloway, and Dr. Rod Oldham of HHS over here. We have many county staff in the audience. I'm not going to introduce them all, but we stand here to support you. And whether you're in our county or in El Dorado County and have been displaced, we're here to serve you. We have the shelters set up at Bell Road at the Baptist Church. We have lots of information on the websites that we'll share with you tonight. You can always call 211 for emergency services and information on how to get assistance. Unfortunately, we have been through this before with the river fire, and I think if you talk to any of the folks that were there, you will find you have a strong partner in county government to help you through this, through all of our various departments. I wanted to take a moment because we all feel this way, but on behalf of all of the residents, including myself, huge thanks to the public safety officials up here. Please join me in thanking them. They truly are the heroes. I've had a firsthand opportunity to be with them at the Incident Command Center and to share with them today, to see them in action and how hard they've all been working round the clock to serve you, to protect your homes, to get you out safely. And we're with them. We've got to support them. We're all doing the best we can, but they're the heroes, and you all know that. So thank you all on behalf of that. And then one other thing I wanted to make sure you knew, all of the residents of the region and all the residents of this community stand with you. Placer Community Foundation is setting up the Mosquito Fire Relief Fund. It will go live tomorrow, and we'll be circulating that to all the residents of Placer County and the region to donate. They were able to secure a lot of donations last year to help our victims of the river fire and plan to do that again. So for those of you who haven't been impacted yet, please, if you can, donate so that we can help those that end up being impacted by this. And so thank you very much. Again, we're all here to serve. Please be safe. Take good care. Listen to the directions given, and we are Placer strong.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we're going to receive a fire update from our operations chief. This is going to be on the Placer County side.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nolan Hale. I'm the Auburn Forest Hill Battalion Chief operating at Auburn headquarters and the Unified Operations Section Chief for the mosquito incident.
Yep, Matt Radke representing the Tahoe National Forest, Superintendent of the American River Hotshots and performing Deputy Operations Section Chief here.
To give you a live fire update this evening, our perimeter was mapped at 13,705 acres. The fire made about a 5,000 acre run today to the south and into El Dorado County. Starting in the Forest Hill area, as you can see, we have had some fire growth today progressing to the west. We have a very large amount of resources in there going direct on the fire and providing structure protection and mitigation measures all the way around the town of Forest Hill. They'll be there 24 hours a day until we feel that is secure again. But it is getting closer to some structures. I just want to let you know that we do have an immense amount of resources in there to protect all of the structures in there. Coming around to the north today, the fire did not push as far to the north as we saw yesterday. It is running up towards the seed orchard at the top of Forest Hill, back into the federal DPA, and coming around to the east side. That fire was our third priority part of the fire today and just made some limited growth, not substantial as compared to yesterday. The big push today was coming out of Oxbow Reservoir, where the fire spotted across to the river into El Dorado County, and like I said, made about a 5,000 acre run in the matter of 2 to 3 hours up into the vicinity of Volcanoville, and continued pushing south. As of right now, we are not getting outflanked on the south side. We still have stronghold on Forest Hill, and we do have containment lines almost complete down to the American River at that point. They are indirect, but they are going in right now, and we are feeling a little bit proud of the progress we have made today in Forest Hill. At that point, that's the end of the operational update.
Thank you. Now we'll hear an update down on the El Dorado County side.
Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Mike Blankenheim, and I'm the unit chief for the CAL FIRE Amador El Dorado unit. And for this incident, I'm also one of the CAL FIRE agency administrators for this. So I'll just add a little more detail to the El Dorado right around before noontime, somewhere in that neighborhood. Every bit of 5,000 acres. That number might be a little bit outdated. It may be a little bit more than that at this point in time. But it did cross right underneath the community of Volcanoville, made a hard uphill run into the community of Volcanoville, and then got up into the wind and started moving east again. So as it stands right now, Volcanoville has definitely been impacted. We did have some structures destroyed in there for sure. I don't have a good handle on how many as of just yet, but it is definitely not the American River drainage up towards Stumpy Meadows, and eventually we'll probably end up where the King Fire burned through there 7 or 8 years ago. So that's current right now for El Dorado County.
Thank you. A lot of areas under evacuation. Next, we're going to move over to Placer County Sheriff, Under Sheriff Shane Wright, to give you an update on evacuations.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Shane Wright, Placer County Sheriff's Office. Just to give you guys a quick rundown on, I'll probably be up here a couple times, finish it with some question and answer. And then if you don't feel comfortable asking that question for everybody else, I'll be here until all night until we get those questions answered. So I'll be around for that. Just to give you a quick orientation of the map that we're looking at here, obviously operations covered the footprint of the fire. Over here you have Todd Valley and Forest Hill proper. The map is indicating evacuation orders in yellow, and the evacuation warnings in purple. I know some common questions that commonly come up. One of them is what are we doing for those that have been displaced and out of their home and cannot return? So currently, with the help of CHP and the rest of our Placer law enforcement agency partners, as well as regional mutual aid from our friends down at Sacramento County Sheriff's Office, we have no less operating anywhere from 50 to 100 law enforcement personnel operating right there in that evacuation order zone, and then venturing out in the warning area as well. So traffic control points are key. That's what gives us containment. And then we're also, especially during the midnight hours, doing roving patrols, making sure that nobody is in there that shouldn't be, and that no criminal acts are taking place. So a couple ways we do that is vehicles are commonly marked appropriately. If it doesn't belong there, we do a vehicle stop. We're constantly checking houses. Anything suspicious, they're in there working on it. The second thing I want to talk about is, and it's a common question that comes up right now, is when can we go back home? I can assure you, and I don't know the timeline on that, I'd be lying if I did, but what I can tell you is that when the first evacuation order goes out, we're already meeting, we're already planning at looking at a safe repopulation. So in an event, repopulate, and then evacuate again, or even worse, somebody gets a question and answer, and I'll turn it back over.
Thank you. Next, we're going to hear from our Placer County Office of Emergency Services Chief. He's going to give you an update on some of those sheltering operations.
Thank you. Thanks to the strong cooperation of several Baptist Church, and then of course the Auburn Recreation Red Cross Shelter open at the Bell Road Baptist Church, 707 Bell Road, right here in Auburn. The second option is if you have a trailer or an RV, but you need a place to grab a shower or just get out of the heat and need to get some air conditioning, we have a temporary evacuation point open at the Auburn Recreational Bathrooms and Showers. Pets and other animals, and we want to make sure that they're safe as well. We have been working with our partners up in Nevada County. They have been providing some great support for us, and animals, large and small, can go to the Nevada County Fairgrounds. That's for drop-off only. That's not a shelter location. It's just a safe place for your animals to stay and be cared for while you're evacuated. And that is 11228 McCourtney Road, again, and that's in Grass Valley. I just want to thank again to our partners at Health and Human Services and all of our other cooperating agencies, including the Placer County Food Bank, who's been also providing some food for the folks who've been in the shelter.
Thank you, Chief. Next, we're going to hear from our Deputy Superintendent for an update on schools.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Jeffrey Tooker. I'm the Deputy Superintendent of the Placer Union High School District. So that's Forest Hill High School, here Placer, Del Oro, Colfax, and some of our other alternative ed programs. What we've done really within 24 hours is we're setting up a school for our Forest Hill students, Forest Hill High School students here at Placer High School. If you notice, we have a beautiful new building on the lower campus, thanks to the support of this community, and upstairs is the Learning Commons, our contemporary library. Downstairs is the cafeteria, and it's a perfect setup for any students who wish to see their classmates, their principal. We do have their principal and assistant principal here this evening, actually, and we'll be around to answer questions when we're done, and mental health specialists. But we wanted to provide a place for kids to come, if they could get here, for support, relationships, mental health, food, the 2 free meals a day, air conditioning, et cetera. So we'll be running that starting tomorrow. It's not mandatory nor expected, but it's an option. We expect that to grow over time as more people know. And as you may know, unfortunately during the pandemic, we became exceptionally good at online learning. And our teachers are excellent. We have a very, very committed staff at Forest Hill High School that if we have families, if we have kids who are out of the area, they've got their Chromebooks or their devices, and once we get all the technology dialed in, that they can synchronously and asynchronously join their class and their teachers and keep education going, but also to keep the relationships going and check in on each other. I can't officially speak for the elementary school. We have been in contact with their superintendent and have offered partnership. We partner with all of our elementary schools, so we've offered partnership with her. So we are working on some plans to support her as they're trying to figure out what their options are. So, but I can't speak to that right now. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we're going to hear from our Placer County Water Agency.
Hi, folks. Short update. So first, thanks to Primo Santini, Josh Alpine, my 2 electeds who are here tonight. You'll find us afterwards. So we own and operate the Middle Fork Project, French Meadows Hellhole Reservoir, Ralston Afterbay, et cetera. So first and foremost, my employees are out of the watershed now, as are many of their colleagues. And so our best thing that we can do to help right now is keep Ralston Afterbay as full as possible. I know the fire service folks are using that as a water pickup station. We are offering mutual aid to Forest Hill PUD to keep treated water on in the town of Forest Hill, where I live, and also to Georgetown Divide Public Utility District, who is perhaps going to have a problem later on. So that's my update. Thankful for all the fire service folks who've kept our project safe. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And now we're going to transition because we really do want to hear from you. We very much appreciate your patience, hearing the operational updates from all the different components. And now we would like to initiate a question and answer where we can hear from you all. And as Undersheriff said, if you don't feel like answering or asking a question in this public forum, we will be here all night until all your questions are answered. And we're here for you. And just notable on that, I will make just a pitch that if you did have to evacuate without some of your needed medication, other necessities, please let me know about that. We can either make a run in there and retrieve that, or we can identify a resource for you to help get that fulfilled. But that is a dire need, and we want to hear that concern from you if that does exist. So with that, I'll welcome a couple key members of our staff up here to initiate that question and answer.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brian Estes. I'm the unit chief, CAL FIRE unit chief for the Nevada Yuba Placer unit, and I am your Placer County Fire Department chief. And I really appreciate standing up here with all my partners. I want to make a couple of introductions. You know, obviously Shane Wright, our undersheriff, who is my day-to-day partner here in the county. Matt Jedra, who's agency administrator and deputy forest supervisor for the Tahoe National Forest, and then my partner across the river, Mike Blankenheim. And before we turn it over to Q&A, I just want to maybe narrate or tell a little bit of a more realistic story. You know, Chief Hale gave a very detailed operational update, but for those of you who live in the Forest Hill area or live around Placer County, you know, this canyon, the Three Forks of the American River, and the Rubicon drainage are three of the most unforgiving pieces of country we have in Northern California. It's got tremendous large fire history in all three of those drainages, but the efforts that have gone into the firefight in this canyon, having worked on both sides of the river for the last 25 years of my career, I can tell you it is not an easy task. And just in the last 2 hours, I've been in Forest Hill, and I've watched the efforts from multiple agencies. I've watched an aerial assault with some of the most dynamic aircraft from all over the state of California doing everything they possibly can to protect the community of Forest Hill. And I will tell you from the bottom of my heart, and you can take this to the bank, our priorities are and always will remain the protection of life and property. And our commitment to the community of Forest Hill is paramount, and that will not change as long as I'm standing up here, okay? So I want to make sure everyone understands that. And the efforts of the 450 people under my command and my partners, I'm sure, share that very same sentiment. And I don't want to forget Jed Matcham, Chief Jed Matcham, who's one of our partners from the Forest Hill Fire District, and his efforts. You know, we can't do what we do up there alone. It's a state, federal, and local mission. The support that we have from our elected officials, Supervisor Gustafson, Supervisor Holmes, our county staff, should not go underrepresented. And I also want to introduce Rick Young, who's the incident commander for the federal Type 1 team that has been ordered to manage this incident. We are in unified command for this incident, meaning that the Sheriff's Office, CAL FIRE in both units, the Forest Service, El Dorado County Sheriff's Office, Forest Hill Fire, there's an equal investment and an equal message and an equal decision that comes out of every strategy and every tactic made on this fire. So I want to make that real clear and just express my commitment to the community of Forest Hill and to Placer County, okay? So with that, I'll turn it back over to our MC, and maybe we can get on with some questions and answers.
Thank you, Chief. First question. All right, right over here. Damage assessments are still underway. We are conducting that. For a more detailed update, I think we're going to have to wait for those official reports to come out.
Yeah, the way that works, you know, the fire hit Michigan Bluff late afternoon and last night. There was a tremendous firefight all night in Michigan Bluff to the point where we had crews and firefighters that had to seek refuge in temporary refuge areas as the fire ran over them in Michigan Bluff. I was there in Michigan Bluff today. I will tell you that much of that community survived. We use what's called a damage inspection program, where we had people out there this afternoon at every single parcel number, assessing the status of every single structure, whether it's damaged, whether it's destroyed, assuring that any of the utilities are secured. That information is shared with the Sheriff's Office, and as soon as we have that information, the sheriff's office will go through a process of notification and the residents, helping the residents seek that information, and if they need to, being able to access their property.
So great question. We'll, the notification end, we'll be partnering up with our partners at OES as we put together a program, and are we going to use 211 for that, 211? For people calling in to figure out status there? Yeah. Yeah, so it's very similar to what we used in the river fire. And then afterwards, if you're looking for a much more specific answer, we'll lock that down right after this.
Ma'am.
Hasn't been much said about Baker Ranch. And you had said that it's doubled back and it's going to the seed farm, which is above Baker Ranch. I'm just wondering what the status up there is.
Right now, Baker Ranch is good. The fire is down off the slope of Forest Hill from about Baker Ranch down to Bath Road is where it's closest to Forest Hill Road. There's been a tremendous amount of prep work done on structures and control lines in that area between Baker Ranch and Bath. But right now, Baker Ranch and the intersection at Michigan Bluff is in good shape, has not been affected by the fire.
Mine is more of a request. We're staying at 707 Bell Road, and we've been told we have to leave on Monday. We are in a rig, and our rig is almost out of water. Could somebody bring something so not only us, but the other rigs that are there could fill up our tanks?
Ma'am, if you could catch up with me after the meeting, we can work out, get something to help you out with that.
Postings from the sheriff, CAL FIRE, and Tahoe National Forest. I heard today that not only did it cross into El Dorado, but it's coming back towards Forest Hill. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I can speak to that. So it definitely crossed into El Dorado County today, but we were over there, we saw it. We definitely know that. As far as it jumping back and forth across the river, is that more of your question? So, correct. So, yeah, the town of Forest Hill, it has not reached Forest Hill yet. You want to spot that one?
So when it jumped into El Dorado County, it's moving to the east up the Rubicon drainage. It is not, at this point, it's not moving to the west where it would jump back across and affect the town of Forest Hill. That's at this time. Anyone who's seen that column up there has seen that it's a constant collapse of the column, and then those ice caps, those pyrocumulus that come out of the top. When you see that, that means there's a tremendous amount of convective energy generating out of that column. Spots, things happen on almost a momentary or hourly basis, but as of the latest information, it has not crossed back into Placer below Volcanoville. Can you give her the, I couldn't hear that.
Never have anything this close to my face. Is there any logistical map out that you guys are aware of that we're not aware of more on the El Dorado County side? Because I have a lot of friends and stuff up in there all the way to Cool. So I don't know if you have any more idea on that right now, because I'm about to head up that area.
So yeah, so the incident map is going to be posted on the CAL FIRE website, and we can tell you how to get to that. So as we've seen today, the fire growth today was exponential. It went from a couple thousand acres this morning, and I don't know what it's going to be before the day's over, but probably in the 20 or 30,000 acre range. So that map is constantly changing. So if you can keep checking the website, it is constantly updating and constantly changing as the fire grows. So it'll be one map for the whole incident, and it does represent El Dorado County as well. I got you. Are you looking for? Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. So I understand the question. So right now, I think we spoke to our priorities here when we kind of started this. Right now, the priorities are 100% life and property. And we have our hands full right now with evacuation, structured defense, all of those kind of things. So that is our focus 100% right now. That being said, the Type 1 incident management team comes in and they have capacity for those kind of things for some longer range planning. We call it PACE planning, where they have primary lines, alternate lines, contingency plan, all those kind of things. And they're actively building those right now. I don't know that you're going to see those far outlines on a public facing map. And I don't know that we have those lines figured out yet either. So if you're asking where we're going to cut the fire off going east in the Rubicon or something along those, I don't think we have those answers yet. And yeah, those won't be on a map anytime soon. Maybe soon, but not right now. Yep.
Wondering, we just live up the canyon, just near the Forest Hill Bridge. What is the risk of Auburn, of fire coming up crossing the river at the confluence down below? And I mean, we look at the map and we see the yellow line right at the river, and we're like 2 miles.
So I think maybe the same answer as when we talked about Forest Hill before and asking if the fire had crossed and is in jeopardy of running up there. So right now, I'll speak, Auburn is not under any kind of a threat right now, if I'm accurate on that. That being said, right now the primary direction of the fire with the wind directions that we normally have here, the slope and all those kind of things, want to take the fire to the east, up the drainages and away from those areas. That being said, I think Brian spoke to it very well about the column and the collapse and those kind of things, and the winds we get out of that sometimes make the fire go in erratic directions. And we know we're going to have a weather change here on Saturday and Sunday where the heat finally breaks, and we're going to get some winds after that. So right now the city of Auburn is not under any real threat. That being said, I'm not going to guarantee that's not going to change in the future as we get different weather patterns and those things kind of coming in. So right now, no issues, but
Jeremy from Michigan Bluff. What would be the best way for us to learn about the process in this area for cleanup after all of this is done?
So what'll happen next, once CAL FIRE gets done with their initial damage assessment, then the next things that happen is our environmental health and our building department folks will go out, they'll do some additional assessments, and then based on that, we'll begin working with our state and federal partners to try to better understand, you know, what is the scale of the cleanup, what are the things that are at risk. Obviously, the American River is a concern, just like the Bear River was on the Bear River fire. And then we'll work to craft some kind of program that makes sense for the scope and scale. We're just at the beginning of this, I fear, so it's hard to predict where that's going to go right now, unfortunately. But there will definitely be some kind of cleanup program to make sure that we can do the very best we can to get folks through the process quickly, do it well so that the environment is protected. And for those folks who want to rebuild, we'll help make sure you can do that. And folks who want to do something else, we'll support you in that too. So. I wish I had a better answer for you right now, but it's just so early to know what program we'll be putting together. It just depends on how big this thing gets and how many structures actually end up being damaged or destroyed. Sure. Again, no guarantees that this is where we'll end up. On some fires, when they get to a certain size, the state has a state-run debris removal program. We partnered with them on the river fire. A lot of things come into play, number of other fires that are happening at the time. The river fire was unique in that we also had a federal declaration, so that added some benefits and some complexities. But essentially what happened there is the state had a run program. You had the option to opt in to that program. You turn your property over to the state. They'll get rid of all the ash. They'll get rid of all of the any issues with contamination. And then at the end of all of that, they'll turn that back over to the property owner. Again, I cannot say that that's where we'll end up with this fire at this point.
How is PG&E Electric Utility assisting, us as a community at this point?
Yeah, we have several PG&E reps integrated with operations throughout the fire. They come to every one of our ops briefs. They come to our cooperators meetings with the liaison leading alongside them. And we talk all through the night. Anytime there is lines potentially that need to be de-energized or re-energized, obviously you understand that across the state, power is a pretty big issue right now. And so where and when we can, we want to keep those lines going. But also, we don't want to jeopardize your safety or the firefighter's safety. And so there are times where we need to de-energize. And working alongside our power partners, there's almost no greater threat out there on the line.
To commend all the agencies for getting on this thing and helping us all out. Some of us friends that live between Bath Road, Old Mill Road, and I live up above by Blackhawk on the Glover property that goes down to Mosquito Ridge Road on the Paragon side. We're concerned about that area. I've been the caretaker there for the Glover family for 30 years, and Mr. Glover's up in Canada right now. He's given me more information than I'm getting on my websites, but Watch Duty is a good website to get on. And he mentioned that the fire has not encroached, like you said, below Baker Ranch, and we are about a mile below Baker Ranch, between Baker Ranch and Bath Road. But I understood that there was retardant drops along that line all the way past Wharton's Market to protect the town. I wasn't sure if that was a true fact or not.
Yeah, that's a pretty good assessment. Pretty spot on, yeah. Yeah. I'll put you to work tonight. How about that? Night operations section chief. How about that? No, what he's saying is actually pretty accurate. And Watch Duty is an app that is like a mini member sourced apps that are out there. They provide a lot of information, but you have to also remember that they are member source. So that information is coming from a member of the public. It's being posted into that platform. But frankly, for all of us here in Placer County, there really is no better access point for up-to-date information than through Placer, Placer Alert, Placer County Sheriff's Office, placercountyfire.com, and also, of course, CAL FIRE NEU. However, you're exactly right. From Baker Ranch and Michigan Bluff, we have probably a 200-foot wide dozer blade that is running essentially on the south side of Forest Hill Road to the crest of the canyon rim there. And they have been pre-treating with retardant, mostly with the large jet air tankers, all afternoon from basically Baker Ranch, parallel with the canyon rim, all the way down through Wharton's. And, as most of you know who live up there, there's a lot of tributary drainages that run north-south off of that canyon rim. And so that's what they're working on is, as the fire chunks away through those tributary drainages, it's not hitting, came up into Volcanoville. So we'll take that any day of the week, and if we can have a little bit of control over that, that's a good afternoon. So.
In the Weimar area, and I wanted to know where the fire has jumped the American River so far, and if you see a high potential of that in that area.
Okay, the question was, where has the fire jumped the American River?
In the North Fork of the Middle Fork, and then Fork and the Rubicon. There's two little tributary drainages there. So totally different than the North Fork, which is obviously on the north side of north and west side of Forest Hill in between Interstate 80. So no impact to Weimar at this point or the Interstate 80 corridor.
Hi, I had a question about the Pine Street. I guess there was a spot fire kind of close to it around 5 o'clock. I was wondering if that was accurate. And then also, I was wondering about the CCC's involvement. I was one of the pioneer fire crews at the Placer Center. I just wanted to know if the CCC was involved with this fire at all.
So the question was two-part. First was a spot, and I didn't catch that area. For your second part, while the PIO up there gets your location of that spot fire you had a question about, as far as the California Conservation Corps teams, they're fully integrated. I mean, you'll see them down at our base camp operating. We use them extensively. They're great teammates on all these fires.
And the first part of the question was around Pine Street. Was there a spot fire?
Yeah, very possible that there are probably thousands of spot fires in and around.
And we had to repair through pretty quickly. Is that still a semi-accurate assessment of that area in general? And I did notice some spot fires were encroaching about 3 miles from where I live in Georgetown. So I was wondering if that was still accurate, how fast that will spread in that area.
Gotcha. So, yeah, I think what you're asking, that assessment is also accurate. Yeah, it's well established in the Rubicon drainage, obviously moving east, moving upslope and that kind of thing. And as you can see by the column out there, it is moving very, very quickly. And I think if I heard your question right, is when it gets, my opinion on that is probably yes. The King Fire now was 7 or 8 years ago, and there's been plenty of regrowth of the vegetation that burned. That we've done a lot of logging and got rid of a lot of that stuff, but the regrowth on the brush and the saplings and all those kind of things is very present in there. So I don't believe the King Fire is going to slow this down at all as it starts moving towards the east. And then your question about the Georgetown side of things, and I think right now kind of a very similar answer as we talked about like the Auburn piece of it. Right now the fire is starting to kind of chunk the other direction from where Georgetown is, but the reason for the evacuation orders and warnings today is we don't necessarily understand what's going to happen with the wind direction, some of those kind of things over the next couple of days, and there is a chance this thing could come east to west a little bit. Obviously we're hoping that doesn't happen, but we're taking an abundance of precaution, so it's a possibility.
You mentioned that you have a pretty good line of defense from Baker Ranch to town.
Every single structure, every single residential property is being tended to. There's prep work going on. They're getting ready to defend those structures. The fire is just off of that, as I mentioned before. Right now, like I said, it's not making a hard push, to the, basically to the north up slope toward Forest Hill Road. Part of that, frankly, is due to the fact that the fire on the El Dorado County side is burning with such ferocity that it's really pulling a lot of the energy away from Forest Hill and community. But what the winds do tonight and what the fire activity does tonight is yet to be seen.
Just wondering, do we have any idea what those winds are supposed to do? Is there any guess how that weather's supposed to go? And I know we have some temperature relief on Saturday, and how will that affect your ability to get more control over the fire?
I mean, real simply, as most of you probably know, when you get a shift from either a high pressure to a low pressure or the opposite, you usually get some either prefrontal or postfrontal winds that come with that. every day through a 24-hour period. In the afternoon, the winds go up canyon, up slope, and then, around 8 o'clock in the evening, they turn around and they blow down slope. The difference with a change in a weather pattern is that we will see your predominant winds typically come from the southwest west to the northeast in our area. With a weather shift like that, it's possible that, and it is somewhat predicted, that we are going to see some winds from the north and northeast, which will present a challenge for us. However, there's a prediction for much cooler temperatures and even a slight chance of some precipitation with those wind changes. So those are well forecasted in advance, and we're well prepared for that.
I went to work this morning, albeit now it was a foolish decision because I'm stuck. And I live in the Yankee Gym area, and I have animals home alone. Is there any kind of method or means for me to get my animals?
So I'll answer for the law enforcement side, and then I'll turn it over to Dave for another answer. But I think that if it's not the sheriff's office that you want to reach out to and coordinate that with, I think our partners at OES, but we will make some sort of adjustment to just for situations just like yourself to make sure that we can get in there, given that it's safe and that it'd be safe to get folks in there to gather that kind of thing. A lot of times these things are challenging in the sense that unfortunately, we would like to spend as much time as you need, but it's probably going to be a quick little venture. And then another avenue we might have is animal control. And I'm sorry if I stole your thunder, Dave.
So if you can catch up with me after the meeting, we'll try to make arrangements with animal control and our law enforcement partners to see if we can't get some way to get you in there and help get them out.
Yeah, just a reminder, if you have any of those little critters back home that you need welfare checks on or medication, things of that nature, we need to know about that, and we'll help you out as best we can. Next question.
We have a question from Facebook. They're asking, do we have any night vision copters on the fire?
So we have a number of different aircraft that work at night. Right now, mostly what we're using is night sensor aircraft. We have infrared aircraft that flies multiple times through the night to give us accurate perimeters. We do have night flying helicopters within CAL FIRE, but at this point, there's a set of checklists or a different set of elements that have to be in play for us to use those helicopters at night. It's probably one of the most dangerous operations that exists in the fire service. When we have a life threat, there's no question about it, but that canyon is unforgiving enough for aircraft during the day. But it is definitely something that is that we have available and is part of our discussion points and arsenal.
We'll make our way right over to you.
Is there anything useful the public can do to support the shelters right now with useful donations or useful services? We know we don't want to swarm you guys with garbage and that sort of thing, or ad hoc service, but is there anything useful the public can do for the shelters at the Baptist Church or elsewhere?
So the very best thing you can do is either make a donation to the Placer County Community Foundation or make a donation to the Red Cross. Those would be my two highest recommendations right now. I know folks want to bring things, and we truly appreciate that, but a monetary donation is just so much more useful. It puts money back into the economy. It really allows our partners to get exactly what those folks might need. So, but thank you for the offer. Really appreciate it.
Fire first started like at 6:30. There was 2 helicopters and I think 2 planes. And they were only down there for an hour, and then they were gone. What happened?
You want to speak to that, Joe?
How did it start? Do we know any of that yet?
You want to speak, Nolan, or initial attack incident commander, or do you want to speak? Yep.
So the first night when we rolled down there, 6:30, we had about 38 minutes of flight time. From the time the aircraft arrived over scene, they worked well into that 38 minutes, into the 45-minute range, and then it just straight up became too dark to safely operate the aircraft. They put in as many loads of retardant and bucket work as they could, and that's when we had to call it for the night due to the safety, due to the depth of the canyon, the shadowing, and the smoke inversion that was going to set up later in the evening. As far as the cause, it's still under investigation, and once our investigators are done with that, that will go public. As far as I know, during that point of the day, it was a very busy Labor Day weekend. There was a ton of vehicles down at Oxbow, and plus all of our fire vehicles coming in. That's most likely what you saw, a bunch of utility trucks setting up an incident command.
And just to add on to that, sir, this local unit, we've worked with them very, very in-depth and through past instances. The SAC Regional Incident Management Team was called in the middle of the night by this unit when they were working, and we started responding from various agencies. So I do want you to know and rest assured that this entire region came to your aid at the middle of the night, and we're definitely not. So I want that trust and confidence.
The last time I checked, the containment was at 0. Is there any expectation when the containment may begin to actually take hold?
I'll speak to the Placer side, and Mike can speak to El Dorado, but the problem and the reason that it is still 0% containment right now is what we don't like to do is ever go backwards. So yes, have we made progress on the fire? Absolutely. Have we constructed containment lines? Have we constructed dozer line, hand lines? Have we put fire out? Absolutely. But we've been dealing with such fire conditions over the last 48 hours that it's kind of like 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And so what we don't want to do is show 10% containment, and then the fire grows 2,000 acres, and then the next information period it becomes 5%, 24. The fire is just outpacing us a little bit right now.
That PG&E had filed an EIR, I believe today, with the CPUC in regards to fire investigation, whether it's PG&E equipment or not. What is the time frame and general process for whether it's PG&E or not, just what the cause was?
We don't have a PG&E rep here tonight, and we'll defer all of that to PG&E. Yeah. You got it.
Sure. Yeah, good afternoon. So as far as the investigation piece, that's what, is going to take some time for us to complete. Can't really give a definitive time frame on that. Investigators are currently on it. And like was mentioned earlier, it's still under investigation to be determined. So thanks.
Is it when they start, when they get a containment line, that's when they'll lift the evacuation and let us back in? When do we expect that? I know it said October 15th, and I was just wondering, are we going to be out of there until the 15th of October?
So the way the evacuation and then repopulation process works, the evacuation process is very quick. We determine that there's a danger in an area, and we put together either a warning or an order, and you know what happens with that. So, and Shane spoke to it a few minutes ago. The second we do that, the second we evacuate people or put them under a warning, we start working on the repopulation plan to get people back home again. We understand that an incident is never over until the people are back home and the community is restored to some sense of normalcy, whatever that may mean for them at that point in time. But there is a lot that goes back into getting people back home again. If you're evacuated in an area and the fire does not get there, that's a very easy process. We check the roads, we check the power lines, we make sure all the safety stuff's there, and people can go back home. If it is in an area where the fire has burned through and there's damaged structures and those kind of things, that takes a little bit longer because we don't want to put people back home just because the fire's gone through there. With all the other hazards that still exist, we have to make sure that all the burned trees are out of the way and we're not going to have a snag fall on somebody. The utility companies come through and make sure all the energy is, all the lines are de-energized and there's not hot power lines and all those kind of things out there. That the gas lines have been checked, propane tanks have been checked. All those kind of things have to occur before we're going to put people back into a community. And they do take a little bit of time. Like I said before, we recognize that we're not doing our job if we're not getting people back home in a timely fashion. And we have a whole dedicated section on the IMT that's dedicated to handling and coordinating all those things. The energy, all those things come together at one meeting with the IMT to make sure that we're working on that every day to start getting people back home again. So it does take a little bit of time. I think Shane spoke to it as far as giving you like an exact date. I didn't see the date out there, but if you're evacuated, the unfortunate thing is probably days or a week or two or maybe even longer. It's not necessarily a very quick thing. I can't speak to your specific situation. I'm not sure where you're at, but it does take some time. Yeah, generally speaking, one of the things that we evaluate is obviously access in and out of the communities and some of those kind of things. So if the way into the community has been compromised with all the things we just talked about, fire, trees, power lines, all those kind of things, then it does take some time. It's going to take some time, and yeah.
Yeah, so the chief's absolutely right, and it's a complex process, but unfortunately, I've done it quite a few times. Just to give you a peek behind the curtains a little bit, we do a minimum of 2, and most of the time we're going to do 3 a day. Just talking about repopulation between all the cooperatives. Fire footprint is relatively easy. It's when we're diving back into it. Now, one complex to add to that is that if it is on the other side, sometimes access is an issue. But if we're doing our jobs right, we're communicating that with those folks that are displaced that might not understand it, and that's pretty much how we move forward. But rest assured, we're meeting twice, and probably for the next week and a half, 2 weeks, we're going to be meeting 3 times a day trying to get this set up.
Hi, Monica from Todd Valley. And when the fire first broke out, we were out of power. And we literally were in the dark and had no cell service. And we did not receive any alerts for probably 24 hours. And I'm wondering what agency is responsible to make sure we are aware of what's going on. We just initiated our own sort of evacuation plan, but we did not get any alerts.
I'm sorry, where was the location at again?
Todd Valley.
Todd Valley, okay. And you didn't get anything, period?
Later. We started getting them later, but in the initial phase, we were literally in the dark for probably 24 hours. And then the alerts started to come, but we were concerned for a long time.
Sure. So I'm not sure exactly what zone, because it was broken up into multiple zones. There's a variety of reasons, and like I said, I'll be around after, but just to give you the short, quick answer, if there's anybody else that experienced that same thing, a lot of times, and it doesn't matter where you're at in the state, sometimes this can be a telephone technological issue. Due to the mass numbers that we're hitting instantly, it doesn't roll out just to everybody at the same time. And then the other factor is just the sequence of zones that were hit to methodically evacuate in the entire Todd Valley without overloading that egress system. But like I said, if that's not part of your scenario, you know it's not, I'll be more than happy to stick around and try to figure out why you didn't get that notification.
And a quick note on that, just very proud that you had your own evac plan in place to protect you and your family and get them out. So great job. So the question was, about the same time that the fire started, were there any power impacts? Okay, I was just trying to clarify your question because you don't have the mic.
No, it's just,
Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, I have some questions coming through the CAL FIRE NEU live stream. The first would be, could you please repeat the update to the areas of Cool, Garden Valley, and Greenwood, and Georgetown?
Okay, so again, for the El Dorado County side of the river, the fire crossed in the Volcanoville area on pretty much the confluence of where the Rubicon comes into the American River there, and went a little bit south and then mostly east from there. So, and that's currently where it's burning right now, is that southeasterly direction from that point where it crossed the river. It hasn't progressed west at all from there, and it's going more east than south at this point in time. So, for tonight and probably for tomorrow, I'm not anticipating any real fire impacts for the communities you just spoke about.
Sorry, another question from the live stream. Is Colfax safe?
Colfax is safe. Yeah. I'm going to talk to whoever named the forks of the American River. There should only be one North Fork of the American River, but yeah, I think the confusion is there's the North Fork of the Middle Fork, and that's where the fire is. The North Fork of the American River, Colfax, Weimar, Applegate, et cetera, zero impact.
Okay, and another question, can people take their pets to the shelter?
So if you're asking if they can take their pets to the Red Cross shelter, the answer is no. But we have the shelter, animal shelter available at the Nevada County Fairgrounds. They can take them there. So that's the option.
The question was if Red Cross is at Bell Baptist Church.
So I think your question is, are they going to be able to stay at that location? So the way that this works is Red Cross and the county, Health and Human Services, we work with several partners. Bill Road Baptist Church has been a great partner for us. They helped us during the river fire. They were the first ones to step up and offer their facility. What we're working on actually as we speak is some other options. We always want to make sure that we have additional space available. I can't speak to exactly where we're going to end up, but if this goes through the weekend, it's very likely we will end up moving to a new location, partially a larger location. Part of that is in order for the Red Cross to consolidate their services and make sure that they can maximize their staffing. We've been partnering with the folks in El Dorado County. Actually, we sheltered some of their folks from their initial evacuation, and so we'll keep working with them. I can't guarantee we'll be there. If this goes past the weekend, it's probably a pretty good chance, honestly, that we'll end up moving, but we try to minimize that. We know that's tough for folks, and obviously the goal here, I think, for all the folks up here on the stage is to get everyone in their homes as quick as we can, because that's the best place for you to be.
Is Michigan Bluff Road still considered an active fire road, or has the damage been done and it's moved on elsewhere?
Michigan Bluff is still impacted by fire. For the most part, the fire has moved to the east of Michigan Bluff. You know, the damage that was done last night to Michigan Bluff, that main fire has moved to the east, but there's still, I don't want to say active fire, but there's a lot of unsafe conditions along Michigan Bluff Road.
actually like to thank you guys too for your amazing efforts. We all really appreciate it. We're in Clipper Gap, so I don't know if the answer is going to be the same as how you've addressed Auburn, but we are farther north, and we're watching the fire right there at the ridge and wondering if the winds change this weekend. That means it could come over that ridge and then down and possibly cross the river, because I see already that there's I think, voluntary evacuation up to Lake Clementine. And also, if the fire does come that way, do you anticipate having the resources to fight all the rest of the fire in addition to it coming our way? And what do you think the chances that it will come our way?
You know what, like Chief Blankenheim said, that they are doing some long-range contingency planning, and if if the fire were to cross over Forest Hill Road, and establish itself in the Baker Ranch area and move to the north or to the northwest, is it possible to say that the North Fork of the American is impacted in those communities? I can't say they're not. As far as resources committed to this firefight, this fire is the #1 priority in the state of California for the North Region Geographical Coordination Center. So the resources we're getting, and I can let the Forest Service speak specifically to the federal resources, but we are getting anything we need out of the state and local government resource allotment in the North State. There are a lot of other fires going on, large damaging fires across the state of California. So, the use of resources just does not go on forever. There is an impact, but we are the #1 priority. Did you want to add?
Yeah, just to carry on there. So we are getting the resources that we need, and that's the reason Rick Young and California Incident Management Team 5 is here. Huge asset for us, federal resource team. That type 1 is the highest level, and Rick and his team are going to be here to support us for the duration of this. So great question, but yeah, we are getting the resources that we need for this.
The question was, what is the best website to go to follow the progress of the fire?
So I'll just say, from the county perspective, what we try to do is pull together the information from all the folks up here, because they all have a piece to play in this. So Forest Service is federal, so that's on a site called InciWeb. We also have CAL FIRE NEU unit, has a great social media feed, and they're constantly putting out really good information. I'll just say, for the Ready Placer hub site, our job is to try to just pull all that information together, plus the information we're getting from Health and Human Services, from air pollution. Every time someone calls in with a question for 211, we know, hey, that's a piece of information, that's a question that's out there. Get that answer to you.
2 questions. Has any heads of the fire crossed the Forest Hill Road? And will there be a PG&E representative at your guys' next briefing?
So, 2-part question. Has the fire crossed Forest Hill Road? The answer is no. And as far as a PG&E rep here at this next community briefing, I can reach out to them and see if they want to send a rep. But they are at the morning ops briefs, and they are integrated with our ops. And we work very closely with them to make sure all the power de-energization and re-energization is achieved. The meeting, time and place to be determined.
This is a practical question, probably OES would answer this. How do we access our mail? Folks in Forest Hill, how do we get our mail?
So great question. There is a process for that. That's actually one of the things we've reached out to the postmaster. They do make arrangements to allow you to pick up mail at one of the other postal facilities. I don't have the word just yet on which one of their sites will make that available, but oh, okay, all right, they're already ahead of it then. Thank you for that.
So I found my mail liaison. Perfect.
This is more of a comment. Monday night at 2 in the morning, we were awakened by a couple of deputies at our residence by Blackhawk there at the Glover property, and up Forest Hill, I believe, that were on the property securing the house to make sure the windows were closed and all that. And they had told us that they would, if they had to drop water or retardant on the house, they would, but everything to protect it. So I really commend the getting on it. I mean, that was right after the warning, so that was good. I'm really proud of you guys. Really proud.
Hi, two more questions from CAL FIRE NEU Live. One is, are you going to clear the fire breaks that were used in the trailhead fire?
That's a great question, and that's definitely a possibility. So the trailhead fire burned predominantly on the El Dorado County side 3 or 4 years, maybe in very similar location to where it's crossed the river near Volcanoville. So we do exercise that option. We keep one of the things the ops guys are going to be looking at are old containment lines that we used before that were successful, and if they're in the right spot for where this current fire perimeter is, we will absolutely open those up and use them again.
But probably just fire activity and possibly evacuation updates, anywhere people can sign up and receive those types of alerts.
So I'm going to suggest that the best place to get updates, if you're just interested in the fire and progress and things, the incident generally puts out a release twice a day. I believe it's at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. I know CAL FIRE NEU is really good about posting those on their social media. I know Placer County government. I know that the sheriff's office and many of our other cooperators also repost or retweet, I think is the for the federal team as well. That's a great place to keep up with the information on the fire.
Hi, I am here representing the Forest Hill Divide Chamber of Commerce.
So as I mentioned before, obviously, we'd love to ask you to give a donation if that's possible to either the Placer Community Foundation or the Red Cross or the Placer Community Food Bank. In terms of other ways to engage, one of the things that generally happens as we start letting people back in and we better understand, exactly what the needs members, especially those that may have lost homes or other things, is we open up what's called a local assistance center, and we're already started talking about where that might be and when that might be. Obviously, a lot of things need to happen before something like that is open offer, and that's true for any organizations out there. That's something that we'll be doing in the coming days as we better understand, what does the population timeline look like, and what is the the scope and the scale of whatever damage and lost homes and things that we're going to be facing as we start to recover from this fire.
Mr. Atkinson, is there already a link for those donation sources for American Red Cross, Placer Community Foundation, and Placer Food Bank on the ReadyGov, or do we have to go find it somewhere else?
So things have come together rather quickly today with the Placer Community Foundation. Their donation site
I just moved up here and I'm trying to understand the map. Of when you guys are talking about different areas where it's at, like where the fire started, where the fire is, where Todd Valley.
In the pixels, but right up in here, that top section right there is the area I was talking about that's approaching Forest Hill Road, really kind of parallel. So Todd Valley is sitting down in here. Michigan Bluff is like right up in there. Baker Ranch is right up on the tip of that. So, you know, the yellow is all mandatory. The purple is warning, correct, Shane? Colfax and Weimar, you know, a fair distance away.
And sir, I'll get with you afterwards and we can zoom in on a map that I have and answer any specific detailed questions you may have.
Perfect.
I'm not seeing any other questions. Are we?
Streaming. We have a lot of kids that are going to be missing school, high school, and so I'm just curious if that's being talked about or if it's something that the boosters can help out with. Please contact us.